Hey YouTube, what if we just import more women? Australia can solve the problem of guys like me suffering loneliness with immigration policy. Former Prime Minister John Howard once said, "We will decide who comes to this country and the circumstances in which they come." Australia has a long history of choosing the demographic makeup of its immigrants. For a long time we had the White Australia policy, in which immigration from non-European countries was reduced. This was not fully abolished until 1973. These days, immigrants are chosen to suppress wages and undercut and outcompete locals in industries such as the tech industry, often for the benefit of businesses that don't pay any tax, such as Atlassian. Immigration should improve the quality of life of locals, not reduce it. While the borders are closed due to the virus, we have the opportunity to rethink immigration policy. I propose that Australia should choose to bring in more women than men to deliberately create a gender imbalance in society, specifically preferencing young single women. Women are always going to have snuggles or cereal, whatever you want to call it. I have to think of a word that YouTube would be happy with. Women are going to satisfy their needs no matter what. Sure, there are places like Japan where nobody is doing it, but that's a different type of society. If we create a shortage of men and an oversupply of women, women will have to compete, and inevitably some will lower their standards. Less desirable men will have more of a chance. There is a chance that some men could hoard all the women, but already some men hoard all the women on Tinder. So, we shall increase the supply of women to compensate for an inequality that already exists. Inevitably, some women will surely trickle down. Also, poly relationships and harems are generally not accepted in Western society, and I think it's unlikely that most or all of the women, the additional women coming in, would want to engage in those sorts of relationships. Now, how are we going to find these women? A large proportion of the temporary migrants coming into Australia are not highly skilled and are easily replaceable commodities, brought in to undercut and outcompete graduate and junior level locals in fields such as IT. Businesses would still likely be able to find these sorts of employees even if they were limited to young single women. Any increases in costs or reductions in efficiency should be absorbed by the companies hiring these people. These businesses contribute very little to society, so they should contribute something for once. As I said before, they often pay little or no tax. There are also, of course, other industries, not just IT. Engineering and accounting are known for high numbers of temporary workers. Preference can also be given to women in other categories, such as international students. Now, one question is this fair? Yes, it is fair. We're talking about fixing an imbalance, reducing an inequality that exists. Of course, it would mean that women would have to settle for less attractive guys, and I guess the thing is, why would they accept something like that? This might not be politically feasible to implement because women aren't going to support that sort of thing. There are people who see any intervention in the marketplace for snuggles to be immoral, to be disgusting and coercive. But the thing is, here I'm talking about bringing in women out of their own free will. Nobody is being forced to do anything. So it is possible to engage in redistribution in the snuggles market without actually forcing anyone to do anything. Now, of course, all government policies are coercive, so if someone says, is this coercive? Well, all governments exist on the basis of force and coercion, so any government policy about anything is going to be coercive. And we already have interventions in the market when you look at how we have laws about marriage and how you can't have multiple wives and things like that here. We accept those sorts of interventions even though they impinge on people's freedom, because I remember watching a YouTube video that said places with poly relationships where the guys have harems, where they have multiple wives, those societies tend to collapse or be very unstable and stuck in war, civil war, and those sorts of things. Because so many guys there have to suffer in loneliness. They're just unable to get a girl because some guys are hoarding all the girls. So we accept those sorts of interventions. And, also on the topic of accepting market interventions, like, why are these feminist types all of a sudden libertarians who say that any intervention in a market is basically oppressive, when a lot of these people might ordinarily be part of the left and they might like to intervene in markets, but all of a sudden when it affects them, it's not okay. The appeal of this policy spreads wider than just the guys who can't get girls. Every guy who is interested in women will benefit. As to why government should care about these guys, I think governments have a responsibility to take care of the people at the bottom. Governments should allow even the less fortunate to find happiness. And in societies that are more unequal, you start to see more problems occurring. In the future, it might end up that many more guys cannot find a girl, in which case society would start to have a problem on its hands. To conclude, I know that redistribution may be a sort of taboo subject, but I think it's worth considering how we could implement redistribution of cereal or snuggles, and bringing in more women is quite a simple way to do it that would work. It would achieve the aims, but the only problem is that it's probably politically infeasible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Like, subscribe, comment,